Continuing back on the residents, Krishna Surabdas, 9992, Brahman, the district scholar Gaurandas, Swami Guru, 28, Shastri Yoga Das, Brahman knowledge, Maharaj President Bhagaji, visiting Sadhu's five prostrations, Shastri Yoga Das, only you're consolidating Upasana, discourse until Nune calling Dharma, significant admission, BM, Yoga Das. But if he did not hear this from Yagna Gurudhan, he would not have believed Bhagaji. But now he believes that he is actually consolidating a daily routine. One minds woke 4 a.m. bathe, perform puja and manga discourse, bhajan describing murtis, ensuring everyone ate properly, discourse in the afternoon assembly, 10 open eye, 10 vadas with open eyes, discourse, will send the arati assembly service, Bhagaji go, Har Govind by a half share in whatever he does. Sarambai embraced him just before that. YS has been longing for his darshan, so he requested Bhagaji to call him over, revealed Mahima. YS that he had defeated Mahidar Shastri, helped Krishna Swarup Swami realize virtues intelligent, wanted him to study. YS arrived in Ahmedabad speak about the virtues of BM to many devotees and sadhus. Always been way in unluck collecting on this Swami, and then question authorities about why they were causing such difficulties for humble virtuous sadhu. Permitted Vignath to return to Ahmedabad before eventually going to Chapaya. So they eventually permitted. So Anandlal came to Vartada collecting on that. Swami expressed frustration why they were bringing him away. Institutional pattern criticizing Bhagavad Prasad Maharaj went to Moa, sponsored meals only allowed to stay after donating 100 rupees in cloth pieces, and they were almost treated like prisoners. So the example that is Bhagavad Prasad Maharaj went to Moa, sponsored meals, and they were only allowed to stay after donating this amount in cloth pieces. And even then, they were treated like prisoners. And so Sant Vignas grouped with Nandlata Varta and then questioned the authorities. Loose letter support expelled, has not been expelled. So those warned of false impressions, lying, threatening repercussions and consequences. So gentlemen, not like this, prevent further discussion, engage in devotional activities, power, necessity of celibacy. Light from the forehead of such a person that even others can see. Well, he surrendered to his difficult vow. I think that was firm and celibacy, senses controlled, avoiding thoughts, females, condemned those who eat rich foods, unhappiness for devotees, God, revenue officer, came out to the herd, Bhagavad speaking about offering devotion without blinking. Criticism despite evident greatness, historically all have faced criticism, difficulties. Pleased with the devotees that rise above difficulties. No fondness for those who criticize God. How can these roots of the instincts be burned? Govinda approached Bhagaji with this exact question. He said that only coming for 2 days wouldn't achieve this. It was continuous stay that was actually needed. And so when he went back, he was bitten by a scorpion, and then he went to Bhagaji's bed, and then Bhagaji calmly took care of him. And he asked for relief, and he said that removing instinct roots required readiness for 7 times more pain, not just the pain bitten by a scorpion, but 7 times more of that. So he said, brush aside the ego, but everyone didn't, saying he didn't want to remove his instincts. After which the pain removed the following day. So Govinda approaches Bhagaji for grace to burn the roots. He said only 2 days wouldn't achieve this. So when he went back, he was bitten by a scorpion on the way back. So he spent the night in devotion next to Bhagaji's bed. And so when Govinda asked for relief, he said that this would be, you need to suffer 7 times more pain than this. All actions, the Rav Sahib questioned Bhagaji Vignandas positively, always act beneficially, became unhappy due to bodily misery, and recited verses of God to give difficulties out of compassion, ultimately lead to happiness, never giving happiness causes future misery. It comes from that we have the Hindodo, right? Hindodo during Amas, which pleased him. In time for sponsored meal, 10 Amaras, eyes open, and then also praise him for spoiling the one with not. So comes to Ahmedabad, which Hindodo, that because he initially gets upset, but then he says he is for the Hindodo, which pleases him. Then upside meal. And we also have the praising of him, supposing if they want to compose a poem. So they daily get visits from Bhagaji. They compose a couplet praising him to be a loving devotee, crown jewels. I think they praise him for devotion, adherence to niyams, and the motto was present through him. And so this was a spiritual atmosphere in Ahmedabad that was rejuvenated. Bhagaji Sadhguru. So asked, why his studies were discontinued, and because it was because he was composing verses and shloks about Pragji. And so when he was pressed, he recited a great Sanskrit verse praising him as an elegant Nirgun Sadguru. And he modestly compared this praise to a foxtail lion, but others said, no, he is actually right that he is described and properly profit in the form merchant, constant attention, merchant watching prices, and not forget God for even a fraction of a second. blesses rarity of human birth. Srimad Bhagavad maintained profound love. Discourse went to set her hands above both hands on his head. Devotee prostrated. Protested householder touching such an unplaced and pro diver. Sacrifices everything for the pearl inclination. Pleasures his disdain and enmity towards them. Prevents defeat. Constant need for alertness, firm celibacy, deficiency. Mentioned thinking of leaving. Wouldn't get an opportunity again. 10 Brits. Rav said, prepare to leave. He said, you're not going to get this opportunity. These opportunities are rare. He repeated the verse and devotion to the Sadguru. Then he eventually let Rav Sahib go because his position-based pride limited his complete surrender. Yeah, those Gopi Laws, Krishna, his Govardhan Swami addressed his Vaishnava background, theological, different age-based, turned 5 manas, daily song and name and grows himself manifest form, true refuge, nominal refuge. Extraordinary speaking to him will collect you with Krishna during last moments, affection for no refuge in God, worldly pleasures implies no refuge in God, understanding for taking renunciation. Why did he ask about why did he take renunciation? So Bhagaji asked the younger Buddha, why did he take renunciation? He said that establishing unshakable refuge in Sri Krishna while living in samsara was impossible. So you cannot live in the world while and have true devotion at the same time. And so then he uses this to instruct Balabai serving a sadhu is absolutely essential, and then don't have any affection for worldly. So so affection for worldly pleasure. So he gives a question to YS about why did he leave the world, and he said this is essential, and then he uses that to instruct Balabai. He's a manifest form of this OG and visitor. Demonstrated life force, restraining life force, Shenmata's manifest form of what we call Kivli. He said that it is that he has not initially been of this faith, but he found the gateway to the most contact with Swami Narayan Sadhu Satpurush, confluence of Dharmagnan, Vairagya Bhakti. So visits the Brahmachari and then also demonstrates mastery of life force and of devotee. Couldn't find a false master of yoga. Andrew, so we also know Shastras, limited Shastras quenching. Reading or like drinking salty ocean water cannot quench thirst. Like, but this extracts the essence of the Shastras. And the tailor undoes two stitches, attaching to water moment, stews two stitches, placing God inside the jeep. So that's the metaphor. Frail body, also Thakur Murti, not envy for sanctification. But the nose is slightly too long compared to his actual features. So cradling the Murti to his chest, device making the nose slightly smaller, intimate familiarity, modest physical form. Permission to leave, so he said to study hard. He's commented that such a frail body doesn't suit the leader of a group. So he said that the leader of a group should have a large frame. And so Yagananda Purtashi came to him and he gave him final permission to leave. And he said to study hard. And he said that this frail body doesn't suit the leader of this large group. And when he went back, he sent a Thakur Timurti through Narayan for sanctification. Empties the carts. The next day went to the mandir, noticed carts of sand meant for people to wash their hands. So he joined in emptying the sand carts. So he were meant to empty the sand in the carts. Carrying containers ahead, spiritual elevated, many tried to stop, deep respect for service. Despite achieving spirituality, was unmatched in service. Himmat Singh offered silence. Someone spoke badly, stop others from talking negatively, rejected this approach, maintain equanimity, like so whether the throat is cut or whether they receive worship. So emphasize never being sarcastic, tolerating everything, never thinking badly of devotees. Travels to Vadodara, so he also stops at Anand Matsar, provides clean water, pleased with his service, pray for his future success, recognizing Bhakti as the Satpurush. Anyway, so on the road to Vadodara, they stop at Anand, and Matsar provides service to him by providing cold water, and then he recognizes him as a Satpurush. And then he arrives in Vadodara, then goes to Rav Sahib's house. That is overly enjoyed, and many accommodations. Advice to Rankacharya that to always study the scriptures firmly, recognize the God's becoming devotee and complete refuge in him. And that is the key to moksha. Continue doing studying scriptures, continuing to offer devotion. He praised his fortune in teaching such a student while being learned from himself. So Rangacharya Shastri, when he brought him and when he blessed him, he praised his fortune in teaching such a Yagnapurdashi. So that was his fortune. So he praised him for being such a for teaching the student. And he says, keep studying the scriptures, God's refuge, carefully consider principle of God's ekathing devotee. And that again, Bagaji and cart to tour the fields. 3 additional carts. Had all workers go to Bagaji, fortunate to serve Turing's gardens. Sandhya Arati followed assembly of Purani reading Gopachinamni. Wait, after the Arati to read due to time constraints, but arrogantly refused, mysteriously couldn't find the next page. Gunothian styles, so this is that he hasn't heard of these type of styles in the Gunothian Swami's time. Don't open your stash of diamonds without proper customers. And he said that maybe no one can actually understand these teachings, but at least people would know that these teachings actually happen. So Krishna Swami says that don't open your stash, don't give out everything. And that he says that yes, people may not be able to comprehend this, but at least they will know. At least they will know that this occurred. We have the Darshan Jetalpur also describing God's form, meditation with eyes open. Also, Vignandas trying to go ahead, jump ahead as they are accommodating the journey. Excellent hospitality, and they also measure the mandir's dimensions according to Shastra requirements. So Darshan Jetalpur is also actually measuring the mandir the mandir dimensions, which you can think of that as like the jump. You're also measuring the jump, and the jump is the mandir. Departure for Janagadya, that's when Vignanda Swami is sent to Chapaya. Last time Vignanda Swami was see Bhagaji on earth. And so then there when he comes departure for Junagadh, there's a Swami that requests Bhagaji to come annually for 1 month to Ahmedabad, and he said that he would come whenever Acharya Maharaj called. And so then they went to Junagadh, sat in everyone who had already been experiencing divine bliss. So he was in Ahmedabad, then he goes to Junagadh. And we also have in Rajkot as well. So accommodations. This is mainly accommodations in a procession towards the mandir. Great accommodations. Time came to meet him. Great affection. Discourses, austerities and rigorous discourses. 4 a.m. mandir visits. Simple lunch of milk mixture without salt. Meditation. Full way from the Shastras. Read the Shastras. Then Kushalan Das came for Bhagavad Darshan, meditating in staying 5 days to help him with the painting service. So he's doing painting service to the carpenter. And he says, in this discourse opportunity, he told him, then he put lovingly marigold flowers on his ears, instructing him to keep working on offering devotion to God. You know, this passes away to Dr. Dhamachavaya, so critically fell ill, told us how much he was ready to leave once. Bhagavad began, came to collect him. Vaishnava Bhagavan fulfilled the earlier prophecy in Ahmedabad that only their 4 eyes meeting remained. So only their 4 eyes meeting remained. That was the prophecy that Bhagaji had. Very great sadhu spread the glory of Bhagaji. Sadness because he was he's vital in spreading the glory of Bhagaji and satsang as well. And so great loss to Bhagaji's group. But many of us wrote to Bhagaji, and then Bhagaji also wrote back. Jithabai of Page, technical college student. So then he also goes, he yearns for Bhagaji's darshan. Ganpatra also develops interest in Bhagaji after hearing that a householder can discourse better than even learned Puranis. And then Jithabai comes into association with Ganpatra Bhai. And his Ganpatra's desire for darshan increases significantly. And then Jithabai then persuades Ganpatra to then visit Moa. And Ganpatrao is the son of the millionaire. Helps the boats reach the other side. The 3 travelers boarded a boat from Basada Moa. A severe storm, captain wouldn't survive. Pray chosen devotee. Ganpatrao Singh Bach is explaining God all doership, bringing a millionaire son without permission. Prayed earnestly for Bhagaji for protection. And they finally reached, showing Jithabai true faith. So this week gives God accompany them to the river. So Ganpatra Krishna Jithabai visit early in the morning. They go to the pond, river for bathing, and then he says that when his son is truly pleased, gives God. So how difficult it is to truly please the son, to always please the son, whatever Satguru. So these 3 are now making Jeem string. Ganpatra so he tells that Govardhan Swami is Akshar, but this contradicts what Bhagavad said, but he says, no, I believe this, and so that can I even speak of it. So Jai Krishna, a quarter of that, Ganpatra 50%. Ganpatra striving for many birds command to go home. initially by train, but difficult boat journey. Sorry, does not don't pack large water pot. Soil needed for cleaning won't be needed. For smoothly with reaching their destination without and the travelers continuing by train to their respective homes. So return with the boat reaching its destination. They said they're traveling, considering traveling by train. Difficulties with Uddhavji, large group of devotees come with Uddhavji complaints about Durga Shankar. Brahmin and Grace saw physically assaults Bhagaji, tolerates everything, locking house. Visiting devotees learn about this. Talks deep meanings, diffuses conflict, first scoldings, supporters pushing Brahmin. Cleverly referencing Vaishnava, boldly defending God's devotees. Anticipated difficulties, so he arranged them at his house initially, but his teachings have deeper meanings. So he says that we must avoid conflict, don't push the Brahmin, and we want to defend God's devotees. And he continues discoursing again in Moa. This is in Moa. He is in Moa. Difficulties in Moa. Talks of deep meanings. He anticipated difficulties, arranged for devotees to stay at his house initially, leave immediately because he knew that there were another group of devotees that were coming to his house, and so to avoid overcrowding, and so he tells them to leave. He commands, already arranges the cart. They're shocked by this abrupt. Ganpatrao, Bhai's father wants to invite Bhagaji for consecration of murtis in their Bharuch Mandir. So they learn about this. They want to oppose it. If Bhagaji comes, we won't come. And so then Bhagaji then declines the invitations due to the difficulties. Chaitra festival and Vartal, great Sadhgurus are present. Yoga introduces them, solicits them to accomplish sadhus and arranges them for here. Chaitra course to strengthen conviction and Bhagadi's greatness. Acharya Maharaj refuses to ban, so Chaturbhai openly supports Bhagad. Also, Acharya Maharaj also openly supports Bhagadi because he refuses to ban devotees from visiting Moa because they don't listen to him. And so Himabai threatens violence against Bhagaji. Bhagaji said that would result in divine punishment. Appreciated the Puram assembly, so pressured sadhus versus devotee that he declares him to be a Paramikan. So there's this awkwardness because he was supposed to rebuke him. So this lukewarm prohibit and dissatisfies neither side, and so he becomes upset, sits in despondent silence. And it is this in greatness appreciated that Ganpatrao becomes separated due to the influence of Ramchand's negative words. Road to Moa is always busy. Despite official discouragement, they still go to Moa because of their attraction toward Bhagavad. And even though he initially scolds them, they bring them gesture and bring them great foods and fruits and mango jams, saying that he doesn't want anything for himself, but he will accept their service. And he teaches them and does discourse about value of humility, elephant, Ganpatrao, example, or not have any ego, don't have any ego, is Satpurush is the elephant that can free the individuals from their faults. Nature of separating, so worldly, so categorize things by nature, saws, acts as deceitful people separate needle companions, and the Satpurush and wise people bring together. And then he also gives them permission to leave. Then goes to Gadpur. Now we have Gadpur discourses. Murtis, right? 8 types of murtis. Nishkura, internal murti, Vaishnava, Acharya has his Vaishnava specifically read and says they all apply to Bhagavad. He compares Bhagavad as a gold thread remains firm in all seasons, while others weaken under pressure. And he then, because of this praise, Bhagavad says, no, this is actually due to Swami's grace. GS grace, hundreds of thousands. So Brahmachari is asking, what is it about you that attracts thousands to you while they have actually no followers? And he said he doesn't possess any divinity. He credits all of his service to A.B. Gunathan through thought, word, and deed. This pleased Swami very much, and he resulted in Sriji Maharaj possessing it. But if they similarly also serve an Ekadni Purusha, please Maharaj, hundreds will also follow them as well. True bliss of God is experienced here. So Fulchand's behalf a rebel, but he said that actually the true bliss of God is but this is what Fulchand said. The true bliss of God is actually experienced here. And so that's what Bhagavad said, promise to make anyone who comes to him happy through Maharaj's bliss. Bliss of God like it is like streams of bliss in their eyes, consensus. Only those following Guru's words, emphasizing someone ignorance prevents this. The ultimate goal, don't criticize, devotees compassionate natures, Atmagudi towards Ekanic Sun, serving sun, thought, word, deed. Devotee of God should be brave, conquer senses, no worldly pleasures, rule senses like citizens, Worship God, continuous peace, broom to cleanse you, young thus. So this is also Jaya by sponsoring of the meals. And so you see, so young thus initially wanted to focus on studies. So don't focus on studies, focus on the devotion instead. So this is also advising teaching for self to turn 18,000 modest to seize worldly thoughts. Noblest until one becomes Brahmrup. So she has 500 Paramahansas were preventing him from eating the one sweet. He emphasized that becoming Brahmrup is absolutely essential to have modest murti. Meditation not last. He goes to many of these different realms and he says that all the pleasures of the other realms are nothing compared to being with God. And so he also offers to turn 18,000 madas. So madas for Acharya Mada requested private correspondence. Asked about meditation. So Acharya Mada asked about meditation, says true meditation requires proper knowledge. And for the proper knowledge is developed through attachment to the relations of Buddha. All the devotees. So we'll stop there. So we have all devotees devotion lacking where I think I can see God in all three states. So what we have Karara discourses. After Karara discourses, then we immediately go to Junaga discourses.